My name is Anna, and the first module that I will be explaining right now is geometry. Geometry is something that I think all of us have always been worried about, but it's also something that all of us deal with on a daily basis. Before we start out, let me just bring on the file. So again, this is just an introduction to geometry. It's the basics, because basics is something that everyone has to be extremely thorough, and I believe that if you don't have a very good base, you cannot really know anything further. So even if it takes you some time to learn the base, if it takes you 2-3 days or a week or two, I think it's completely worth taking that effort. So let's just start off with geometry and not pull this out any further. Introduction to geometry. Like I said before, geometry is it's an extremely
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Welcome everybody. My name is Anna and I'm from India. I was working with an MNC before. Right now I'm working with a non-profit, and I love teaching. I have a lot of cousins and people who live around, and I help them out, and this is something that I enjoy doing, and they claim that I'm good at it. So I figured that if I could help a few more people outside, why not? Today the topic that I've picked is geometry, because I know the moment children hear geometry, or even adults hear geometry, they get extremely upset and they are they have this panic attack. So this is a basic introduction to geometry, and I hope this is useful to you all. So by definition, geometry is defined as a branch of mathematics concerned with the properties and relations of points, lines, surfaces, solids, and higher dimensional envelopes. Now that is extremely complicated, and anyone who reads the definition of geometry will be worried. But what I'm going to try and do is break this definition out piece by piece, so that at the end you know exactly what we're going to be dealing with in geometry. So we're going to look at what are points, what are lines, what are surfaces, what are solids, and what are these higher dimensional analogues. Now before we go further, let me just tell you, analogues are basically a fancier word for solids, so higher dimensional solids. So again, like I said, we're going to use this definition to basically understand what geometry is all about. So properties and relations is fairly simple. Of what? Of points, lines, surfaces, solids, and higher dimensional figures. So first let's look at points. What do you mean by a point? A point is basically a location in space represented by dots and a capital letter. It can also be a small letter. There is nothing like that. So what is a point? When you put a point anywhere, is a point. It's as simple as that. And like I said, I'm going to try and relate each and every thing that we learn in geometry with something that you actually experience in daily life, because like I said, geometry is something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. We just don't realize that that is geometry. So I'm sure as kids, all of us have played this game where we have these little dots and we have to join them to get the figure, like the one over here. And then, like I said, dots can be just anything. So when you look at the sky and you see the stars, those little silver dots, those are points. A mathematician would put an A, B, C just to demarcate them, like the one over here, and ta-da, we have hit 1 point of our definition. So now we know what points are. Points are basically simple points that geometry uses. Alright? Okay. Now, what is the next thing? We're talking about lines. Now, what are lines? Lines, the one thing that you need to know about a line is something that can be never ending. When it's never ending, it's going to have 2 arrows like this, which shows that it is going to infinity. Or like in this example, it is the same dots that I had put in my previous slide. I've just joined them by these lines, and hence they become lines. So in a simple sense, a line is basically when you join 2 points, a line is formed. Again, examples of a line, I'm sure you can think of 1,000. The first thing that comes on top of my mind is when you're in school and your teacher tells you to stand in a line. This is what she means. She wants you to be in a straight. There has to be no curves. There has to be no bends. That is a line. So the simplest thing I could think of that all of us can relate to is a pencil. A pencil is a straight line. So here you would mark a point A and you would mark a point B. So those little points, like we discussed in our previous slide, are those little points. And the line that joins them together is what a line is. Again, extremely simple. See, I told you geometry was easy. Now we come to the third thing. That is a surface. What is a surface? Again, what is a surface? A surface is anything on which these points and lines lie. So if I put a point, like for example, when I put a point over here, if I take a point and I make a point here, it basically means, So when I make a point over here, this is basically my surface. This is my surface and this is my point. And then I will maybe have a line. So again, this line is not straight, but still I think you get what I'm trying to say. So this is my surface. So same way, for example, you have a surface of a book. When you draw something on a book, your book is the surface. Again, you have a table. What does a table do? The table is a surface that demarcates what is on top with what is below. So if I put something on top of the table, that is the surface. If I put something below the table, then that's the floor. Same way if you take like a tennis ball, the outside part is one surface and the inside part, that's why I particularly took a picture where it's been cut to show you that there's something inside, that is another surface. So what a surface does is that it divides a 3-dimensional or a 2-dimensional space into 2 things. I know I used 2 complicated words, but don't worry, we're going to deal with it when we come on to the next slide. The next slide is what maybe a little bit more powerful, a little bit more out there, which is solids and higher dimensional analogs. Like I said, analogs is just a fancier term. It just basically means higher dimensional figures. Now, when you have points joined together with 3 or more lines on a surface, that is when you get a 2-dimensional or a 3-dimensional figure. Now I'm sure you must be wondering, what about the 0-dimensional and the 1-dimensional? We've spoken about 2 and 3. Where's 0 and 1? Well, 0 is basically when you just have a point, is a 0-dimensional figure because there is no dimension. A dimension means a face. So when you put a point, there is no face because it's just there. A 1-dimensional would be when I just have one line over here. So I have a dimension on this side and a dimension on this side. So basically there is no clear dimension. So this is my 1-dimensional figure. A 2-dimensional figure will have a closed area. Like for example, if I have a triangle or I have a rectangle. In this case, this is a rectangle joined together by 4 dots A, B, C, D by 4 lines A, B, BC, CD, and AD, this becomes my two-dimensional figure. And right over here is my three-dimensional figure, which is joined together by these 8 points A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Now, what is the difference between a two-dimensional and three-dimensional figure? In a two-dimensional figure, you will have a length and you will have a breadth. While in a three-dimensional figure, you will have a length, you will have a breadth, and you will also have a height. So that is the difference between a two-dimensional and a three-dimensional figure. Now, the best example of a three-dimensional figure is all your latest superhero movies that come out in 3D, and you go to the movies and they give you those glasses to watch, which makes you feel like it's actually in front of you. That is your three-dimensional. So if the actor throws something at you and you feel like it's actually flying right at you and you can see the right and the left, that becomes a three-dimensional figure. A two-dimensional figure is your older movies when it was just on a flat screen and you just saw all of it happening. You never felt something was sticking out. So that is my two-dimensional figure. So basically, figures can be two-dimensional or three-dimensional. Again, this is a polygon. A polygon is basically a two-dimensional figure. So this is the basic of geometry which I wanted to cover, which is basically just introducing what are points, what are lines, what is a surface, and an introduction to a polygon and the difference between a two-dimensional and a three-dimensional figure. We can take this, so if we can take, now you further learn about different kinds of polygons, like you have a square, you have a triangle, you have a circle, you have a rectangle, each of which has its own properties, has its own uniqueness, which we will cover as and when we reach there. Same with three-dimensional figures. A three-dimensional figure will have a surface area, it will have volume, it will have weight, it will have a lot of other dimensions. So I hope this class was useful and clear, and if you think I can actually, I will be able to help you out in maths or social sciences, please feel free to contact me, and it would be my honor and pleasure to be able to help someone out. Thank you. Have a great day.